Hello you lovely lot and welcome to a new video. For today's video I have a Halloween illustration, which you may notice is a little bit late because it is now November. But you know, Halloween is always fun, so we're just extending it on for a little bit longer because time doesn't mean anything anymore anyway. I am not ready to dive straight into Christmas, so for now we'll just make the spooky season last a little bit longer. So what actually happened was this was finished the day after Halloween because I just had a few things I wanted to work on, and then of course my patrons get to see my videos a couple of days earlier than they go public, so the public viewing of this video is quite late after Halloween, but nevertheless I hope you still enjoy it. So for October's illustration, my patrons suggested and voted for my character Cinnamon celebrating Halloween. And I haven't drawn Cinnamon for quite a long time. I've had a lot of people comment that they missed him, and I'm really glad that people remembered him, to be honest, because it's always kind of worrying when you haven't drawn a character for a long time. You start to think people will just completely forget who they are. But apparently Cinnamon has his own little fan club, and yeah, people missed him and they're glad to see him back, so that makes me really happy. There is a video of Cinnamon way back on my channel from when I first designed him, I believe, if I haven't deleted it. But for anyone who's not seen him before, Cinnamon is a character who features in my project Constellations, which is still a work in progress. It's not available to read yet or anything. And what I'd like to create with Constellations is a kind of vibe that's somewhere between Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star and that kind of retro space anime feeling, and something like The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which is one of my favourite books. And it's basically a kind of cozy space opera, I'd describe it, about a mismatched group of people, like a found family dynamic, travelling together to create a hyperspace tunnel. And it's kind of less about the overarching plot of creating the tunnel, and it's more about their relationships and how they get to know each other as they travel together for a year. And so I want to create the same kind of feeling with Constellations. It's very much not focused on like the hard science part of sci-fi. I very much respect people who can write hard sci-fi, but it's just very much not for me. I don't have a whole lot of science in my sci-fi, so I do apologise if that's your thing, but that's probably not going to feature very strongly in my fiction. So I tend to just like to focus very strongly on the characters and their dynamic, and Constellations is going to feature Cinnamon mainly, but also it's going to have Neon, who is my android character that I played in Voidwalkers, which was a recent Space D&D one-shot which I played in. There is a stream available, I'll put the link below if you want to watch it. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other characters as well from all different kinds of backgrounds. And again, I want to capture that found family dynamic that's in so much of the fiction that I enjoy, and I'm just so weak for that stuff. I love it. I just think it's so heartwarming, and that's the feeling I want to give when I write, is just a kind of feeling of belonging and somewhere that the reader can feel like they're at home. So that's what I'm going for with Constellations, but again, as I've said, it is a big work in progress. I will not have it done for quite a long time because at the moment I've picked up Wired again, which is my other sci-fi project, but I will keep everyone updated. But yeah, I haven't drawn Cinnamon for a very long time, and it was really nice to see people commenting when I posted it on Instagram that they had missed him and they were excited to see him again, because when you haven't drawn a character for a long time, it's easy to think people have forgotten them. And it was also interesting to see how he had changed with my style, and I have been meaning to change Cinnamon's design a little bit. I've been wanting to make him look just slightly more alien, if that makes sense. So he's got a slightly longer neck, I might make it even longer. He's got kind of like a thinner waist, very broad shoulders to support those big arms. And I don't think I changed his markings because I really like those, but I think there's some subtle changes and differences in there as well. And just with the difference in my art style since the last time I drew him, I think that has affected it as well. But some people did comment on the difference in how he looks, so even if I hadn't noticed it that much, I'm glad people picked it up. So initially I thought of trying to push the spacey and alien elements in this image by perhaps not making Cinnamon carve pumpkins, but instead making him carve the space equivalent of pumpkins, so whatever is the equivalent of a pumpkin on his planet. But then I thought I wasn't really sure how to do that without just making them different colours, and then that would keep it from the very much sort of orange and purple aesthetic that I wanted to stick to. And so in the end I just decided to go for normal pumpkins and just vary the coloration a little bit. and make it that Cinnamon was making them quite unique, so he's actually carving like 4 eyes into a couple of them to make them look like himself, or rather he has 5 eyes, but he's carved 4 eyes into these pumpkins. And generally I think Cinnamon would just kind of really dive into a celebration like this, and Cinnamon loves to learn about other cultures and people from all walks of life and about their history and how they live, and he loves to chat to people. So Cinnamon is a shuttle pilot. He transports cargo across the galaxy in his little ship, and generally has a great time meeting people from all different walks of life and different backgrounds, and he just loves to talk to them and get to know them and how they live and what they like and so on and so forth. And he can chat for ages, and he's very sort of charismatic and welcoming. People tend to be drawn to Cinnamon and feel kind of safe with him. He's also very large. He is 10 feet tall when he's kind of crouched over in his natural pose, and about 12 feet tall when he stretches up, which he doesn't do very often because it's not kind of natural for him. But for an estimate, he is roughly the height of a single-decker bus. So yeah, he's pretty big, so people tend to feel safe with him if they're of a different kind of species, because he towers over them and seems very protective with those big old arms. And also the fact that he has 4 very large arms means that he gives fantastic hugs. Honestly, I wish Cinnamon was real just so that he could give me a hug, because those are some very good hugs. So I think Cinnamon would really kind of throw himself into Halloween. He loves celebrating. Anything with Cinnamon tends to turn into a party. So I don't think birthdays are traditionally a big deal where he comes from, but I think with Cinnamon, birthday celebrations would go on for at least a week. He loves to cook, he loves to eat, he has a terrible sweet tooth, which is not necessarily a good thing, especially for him, because his body isn't made for the kind of sweeteners that humans might put in their food. Unfortunately, he lives with a human and has picked up some bad habits from living with him, and has got a liking for food that he shouldn't necessarily be eating. So Cinnamon does love his sweets. He's got a little sherbet dib-dab in his hand. If you've never had a sherbet dib-dab, you're missing out on some of my favourite sweets. And yeah, he's just got a bucket of sweets to the side. He's having a good time while he's carving his pumpkin. It was also fun trying to think of an outfit for him, because generally I've hardly ever drawn Cinnamon in an outfit that isn't his work uniform, and he tends to have like a tight black sort of undershirt, and then he's got this red waistcoat with these very big buckles for his big hands, and that's kind of his uniform for his work as a cargo pilot. And then he's got like these khaki trousers. And so I wanted to come up with something fun for him to wear. Cinnamon kind of will wear anything because he just likes to dress up. He's open to any ideas. Arinthi fashion, which is his species, they tend to be very sort of gender neutral with their clothing, but it does have to kind of fit their bodies, because obviously they've got very different proportions to humans, so it's always interesting to think of what will fit them. So for Cinnamon, I decided to go for this cute kind of skeleton effect combo with the rib cage and then the leg bones on the trousers. And it's got kind of like this tighter top underneath and then this loose top over the top that's kind of partly transparent and has loose sleeves so his big hands can get in. And I think it's really sweet. It took me a while to decide what colour to make the trim, but I decided to make it this nice kind of purple colour to contrast with the orange, and I think it turned out really nice. I also used my first ever gradient map in this illustration. I put out a post on Twitter saying I had no idea how to use gradient maps, and some very kind people explained to me how to use them. Believe it or not, I've been doing digital art for, 14 years, and I had never used a gradient map, or I'd tried, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, so I gave up. So I successfully managed to use one on this. I downloaded it from the Clip Studio Asset Store, and it was like a light orange to purple gradient, and I think it worked really well to unify the image. And I played around with a few different types and a few different layer modes, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Because before, the image had a slightly cold look because I'd used this blue in the background, and I kept tinting it towards lilac, but it just wasn't quite working, and then overlaying this gradient map was kind of just the chef's kiss moment where it all comes together. So tell me in the comments below, if you celebrate Halloween, what did you do for it? Did you watch some scary movies? Did you dress up? Let me know what you did. I don't tend to do much because I'm a huge baby and I hate horror movies. I just get spooked really easily, and if I watch horror movies I will not sleep for weeks. I just can't do it. So I'm not a person that enjoys being scared, and so instead of watching scary movies, me and some friends played Among Us for about 4 hours, possibly more, on Halloween night. Actually, I think it was longer than that. So yeah, that was fun, and that is a little bit scary because it's very tense, and it was really fun. I was the imposter twice, and the first time I got spotted coming out of the vent straight away, and I had no defense at all, so I got ejected immediately. The second time, everyone just kept clustering together and I couldn't pick anyone off to kill them, so I just gave up and committed a murder in front of everyone and immediately got booted out again. And that was my experience in Among Us. So I am horrible at that game, but it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. It's very exciting playing the hide and seek mode and just screaming at each other over Discord as you run away. So that's what we did. So if you did something fun for Halloween, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. And yeah, I hope you had a good Halloween or a good day if you don't celebrate it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the process of this illustration and that you like the end result. And thank you, as always, to my patrons for your suggestions and your votes and your support. So thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!